especially the SALN of Senator Chiz Escudero, diba? Because when they were released, you can see that, do you really believe that Senator Chiz Escudero is the poorest senator among all the senators, declaring a net worth of 18 million, that he's even poorer than Senator Risa Hontiveros? That's one.
All right, let's first talk about the SALNs that were released by the senators. Do you believe them?
No. Well,
Bakit po?
especially the SALN of Senator Chiz Escudero, diba? Because when they were released, you can see that, do you really believe that Senator Chiz Escudero is the poorest senator among all the senators, declaring a net worth of 18 million, that he's even poorer than Senator Risa Hontiveros? That's one. And then you have to compare yung SALN that he declared to his lifestyle. Diba? We've seen in social media the gifts that he gave his wife. A very concrete example of this is the ring that he gave her during her birthday, diba? And people are researching how much is the real value of this ring, and you can see online that some are saying it's as much as $1 million, diba? So if he can give a gift of $1 million, do you really believe that he's only worth 18 million pesos? So it's kind of a joke. And then if you look at the declaration of assets, diba? Although I think he divided it into 6 because the properties are co-owned, do you really believe that his house is only worth 3 million? Diba? But people will ask, saan yung 3 million na residential house na yan will also buy? The agricultural property that's less than $1 million? Do you really believe that? It's mga unbelievable. And you can see how the SALN has evolved over the years. It has become a compliance tool rather than a tool for people to really check the honesty and yung quality ng life ng mga senators and the politicians in general. The idea behind the SALN is to be able to compare what are the sources of your income, and ano ba talaga yung lifestyle na sinasabuhay mo given your source of income. So if there's significant difference, then it warrants a lifestyle check. Diba? And I think over the years, the SALN has failed to capture that lifestyle that needed to be checked.
Kasi nga po, gusto ko nga sabihin, ano po ba dapat ang tamang pag-fill up ng SALN? Because when I saw the list, all right, let's start with this. Okay, Raffy Tulfo, first-term senator, declared he and his wife, parang sinama niya yung wife niya, more than ₱1 billion. So when you calculate it just offhand, posible. Kasi ang laki ng kita sa YouTube eh. Laki ng kita niya sa YouTube through the years, dalawa pa sila. Si Mark Villar, some have felt, nag-underdeclare. Kahit above ₱1 billion, ang pananaw ng iba underdeclare. Ang ibang senador doon, nakatira sa Forbes Park, nakatira sa Dasmariñas Village. And yet, ang nakadeclare sa kanila is within the 80 to parang 60 million range. Parang lalabas mas mayaman pa ako sa kanila. Ano ba yung ganon? Parang ano ba ang dapat na pag-declare?
Yeah.
Paano ba dapat ilagay, Professor?
And that's the problem kasi hindi na standard. There's no standardized mechanism in filling up the SALN. Kasi ako naggagawa din ako ng SALN as a university professor sa UP, no? And there's an option to declare separately. You can declare jointly. So kami ng husband ko declares jointly. But there's no guidance in terms of how do you really value your asset? And what do you really declare there? Kasi parang, okay, meron kang personal effects, diba? Kami, you declare as much as a laptop or a cell phone or your books kasi asset siya. But maybe for other people, hindi na siya counted as asset. So it's not standardized. Kaya sinasabi ko na ang nangyari sa SALN is really just for compliance because it can be also used to go after political opponents, diba? So like for example, yung nangyari kay Chief Justice Melo Sereno. It's not even about the content of the SALN, but the accusation that she did not submit her SALN while she was in UP. Diba? So, at the end of the day, I think the challenge for Civil Service Commission, because they're responsible for ensuring that the SALN and its content and the template is relevant, is to actually review the whole document Number one, to standardize it. Number two, to make sure that there are other items there that capture the lifestyle of an individual. Because for example, so you have the assets, you have liabilities. Naniwala ka ba walang liabilities yung iba doon? Like for example, Senator Mark Villar, who's involved in several businesses. Diba? Both the Villars. I was surprised that there's no liability. Hindi nagbaborrow yung mga companies or even at the personal level. Diba? Data that capture lifestyle. For example, expenditure. Diba? Kasi would you believe this? Ito lang yung assets. This is their net worth. Given that every summer they're in Europe. So where are the kids studying? Just the tuition fee alone. Diba? That would reflect the real lifestyle. Then again, more or less, the fact that we have this reaction with respect to the SALN, sir, it also serves as a trigger. Diba? Kasi if the public finds it ridiculous, I think it should raise a red flag, not just to us as public, but also to the ombudsman. And then it means that they should really start doing lifestyle checks. So
should the SALN form itself be changed? Like ito,
Yes.
tanong ko, something simple. Yung bahay na tinitirhan mo, right? Na alam na ng lahat. Si Senator ganyan, dyan nakatira. Okay. Pero let's say nilipat na nila sa isang corporation yon, a family corporation or another corporation. So it would not be under your name technically. Baka, no? So, paano magagawa na isasali yon? Let's say, my address is so-and-so Forbes Park, so-and-so Dasmariñas Village. Ganyan, isusulat. Who is supposed to value the property? Mahirap kasi kung sila rin magva-value. Naka-under-declare.
Actually, ang maganda dyan, no, once it's implemented, I don't know where the DOF is in terms of the implementation, but we had a law 2 years ago, the Real Property Valuation Act. Ang idea nun is to have a consolidated database of valuation of properties. Kasi nga, in some local governments, they're not able to update the value of their property, so sobrang baba. Diba? And diba may technique pa nga, depende on what the purpose is. Kapag ka magta-tax ka sa sarili mo, you use the local government valuation. If you're gonna sell it, it's the VIR valuation.
Yes.
That law would standardize the value of properties. So once it's in place, it'll be easier to actually declare the value of your assets. So hopefully, the Department of Finance is able to operationalize that. I think that's one useful thing.
But do they want to? Yan ang tanong.
Well, that's
Do they
required by
want
law
to?
now. So I think 3 points. So that's one. We need the standardized valuation of assets, how to declare them, and how to enumerate them sa SALN. The second one is I think it's also important, the issue of beneficial ownership. It's not yet incorporated in the SALN. The concept is now incorporated in the procurement law, but in other countries, the declaration of beneficial ownership is a standard
What does that mean?
practice.
Explain
It means
beneficial ownership.
So it means that your name may not appear in companies, but you're actually the one benefiting from the proceeds of the operations. Kasi ang tendency, especially sa money laundering, creation of layers of companies, di ba? May mga holding, and then to find the real owners, siguro mga 6 layers of companies pa muna before you see the individuals who really own the company. Sometimes they use their staff, sometimes they use holding companies, sometimes they use their son. Pero saan ba talaga yung flow of money? Saan pumupunta yung profit? Kaya dyan din papasok yung AMLC, ang AMLAC natin to check the flow of money. We don't have a law yet on beneficial ownership, but we should have one. And then the third thing that I think we need to do is a greater coordination between the agencies. So you have the Anti-Money Laundering Council, you have COA, you have an ombudsman. I think the document also has to be digitalized so that it's easier to compare it with, for example, your tax return. Nagmamatch ba siya? Kasi sometimes our SALN, what we declare in public is different also from what we submit in the Securities and Exchange. And the problem is because all these documents are not digital, it's difficult for us to compare or to match. But imagine if all these documents are digital, the public has access to this information, and then you attach your income tax, ang dali nang mag-compare ng data, and then you can have validation.
All right. Dr. Magno, under the law, ano lang ang pwedeng pamamaraan para ang isang politiko ay yumaman through the years? Kasi the reason is, this is a problem. They keep under-declaring because they want to show they did not earn while they were in government. But the truth of the matter is, as the years go by, your wealth is bound to increase one way or another. So we end up with information that's all false. Ano ang paraan na ang politiko or kandidato or senador, congressman, let's say, will improve through the years? Is it political donations? Ano ba?
In an honest way. Well, yung mga political donations and elections you earn because the donations that are given to you napupunta sa yun, but then you have to declare and it has to be reflected in your SALN. Diba? If you have businesses, you have investments, then you can grow your money beyond what you earn in government. Kasi technically, kung magre-rely ka lang talaga sa government income, hindi ka magiging milyonaryo. Yes, I've been in government. So I know na. And you will not be able to afford the lifestyle that we see in social media. So unless you have investments, private businesses, yun. That's the only way na tataas yung income mo, or yung may mga assets ka na tumaas bigla yung value. But the problem there is dapat tama yung valuation. And therefore, kaya dun sa SALN, may portion din dyan ng conflict of interest eh. You have to declare your investment, kung saan ka may mga business interest, kung sino yung mga relatives mo na nasa government, to avoid conflict of interest. Kaya lang, dun papasok yung paghirap sa pag-i-investigate and maybe the limited resources that the government has in terms of validating the content of the SALN. Kasi you submit it, most of the time, what government offices do is just a checklist na submit mo ba o hindi. But after submitting, no one really analyzes the content of the SALN.
Or what about also the problem with the idea of divesting? Like Zaldico, for instance, no? He and his brother were the founders of two of the top contracting companies that President Marcos Jr. mentioned, SunWest and Hightone. And when I interviewed congressmen, tinatanong ko noon, papatawag niyo ba si Zaldico? Early days to, nag-divest na siya. But in the end, we now see that it's Zaldico making the insertions, goes to the projects where SunWest or Hightone actually build them.
Yep.
So what about this divesting?
Yeah. And that's where beneficial ownership comes in. Kasi for example, at the personal level, he could have divested talaga, but then transfer it to his siblings or to his kids or to his cousin or to his wife. Diba? So who's really benefiting from all these projects? Kaya yung concept of beneficial ownership is very important. Kaya lang nga, alam mo, I'm worried na hindi yan maisa sa pataas. I was listening to your discussion with Congressman Erice. Parang ways forward, all these issues of corruption. And I'm also a bit disappointed when the president said that now this is just a legal issue. It's not a political issue anymore. When I can have a laundry list of the things we need to change in terms of policy so that it will not repeat again. Kasi for example, when you look at the situation of Napoles, diba? Oh, we filed cases against supposedly all these individuals that are involved. Anong nangyari after 12 years? Diba?
Na-dismiss din at na-acquit. Ganun din.
From millions, now we have billions because we did not change any, well, the pork barrel was declared unconstitutional. But at the same time, that behavior behind the pork barrel, no, the idea behind the pork barrel has remained. Kasi the discretion to be able to insert infrastructure projects that shouldn't be a job of legislators. That created that rent-seeking opportunity, diba? If I can insert, then pwede nyo na akong bigyan ng cut dyan because I'm the one who made it possible na magkaroon ng funding. And that is the source of corruption. Diba? But to say na this is not political, ang dami-dami. The president can make PhilJeps. Ito yung portal natin ng government procurement. That can be made publicly available so that everyone can check what procurement the government is doing and who is supplying. Diba? The freedom of information law, that should be discussed. Strengthening government public oversight on projects. And my worry is that the government is actually really just controlling the conversation with respect to corruption. Kasi, do you really believe dalawang senador lang involved sa issue na to? I mean, Senator Joel, parang a lot has been thrown
or sa totoo lang, pati sa congressman, si Zaldico lang.
Exactly. Parang, or si Mitch Kahayon. I mean, Really? I mean, kaya hindi ako nagdi-discuss at the personal level sa kanila because my concern is really institutional. Diba? We have to, yes, sure, they might be guilty, may mga insertions sa and all, but we have to analyze bakit nangyari ito. And if it's really true, why don't we make that listahan public? Diba? The one that Anthony Taberna is saying, that may insertions din si Risa Hontiveros, then let's make all those listahan public so we see that, ano ba itong mga insert ng mga senators na to? Are they really relevant to the communities? Did they undergo a process of identification? We don't even go there. Diba?
No, or I wanted to say, other than the list that was released by Anthony Taberna, also the research that Toby Tiangco did. Because what he did is he went district per district. Yep. Nakakapagod yun kasi ang dami-dami nila. And then he actually researched on who recommended the insertion in those districts.
Yeah.
Kasi walang naglalabas ng listahan sa lower house when we know the budget emanates from them.
Exactly. So imagine if all those lists can be made public. I'm sure hindi lang Bulacan yung naniniwala ka ba na sa Bulacan lang may corruption. I mean, so imagine the extent of corruption that's happening in the country. And to be honest, what we're seeing is just, we're just scratching the surface. And for the president to dismiss this as parang I'm done now with this, I did my job, this is a legal issue, is a disappointment. Kasi what we will expect is years from now, we will have another scandal. Then we will be talking about trillions of pesos na. Kasi ngayon, billions na. Diba? So, we don't change anything. Aside from all the things that Congressman Erice enumerated. Then, wala. Diba?
My last question is, only because we don't have enough time, but I do hope to have you back on Head Start, is while we need to clean the system, right? During the time of the late Noynoy Aquino, it was targeted. They called it personal vendetta, but it was just GMA, right? Nung time naman ni GMA, it was investigating ERAP, right?
Yeah.
So there were a few, and then what happens is the system comes back, right? Because there's no change. But then you're reading also analysis now that says, what's the game plan of all this? Meaning, what's the result? It's like burning the whole house down at this point. So it's affecting, some say it's affecting foreign investors. It's affected the peso is almost at 60 at this point, right? What makes for good targeted change?
And that's what I'm saying, no? The president cannot just dismiss it as a legal issue.
Yeah.
His statements like that actually causes the instability in the market kasi there's no confidence. There are no institutional changes that are being seen, that are being implemented. So there's no confidence that we will be able to address corruption. And if the situation is like that, why would investors invest in a country with the significant issues of corruption? So it's not really burning the house down. It's putting in place policies that would actually prevent things from happening again and again. The problem is We've seen
Tama.
every administration has a scandal. The problem is wala namang policy change na nangyayari. And then we have the same people running government. Diba? Yung mga involved sa Napoles, sila pa rin naman yung involved ngayon. Because we did not put policies in place. Wala namang access to information ng public. There's no way for the public to check, to participate. Even local governments were disempowered because I was talking to them and they're saying na it was DPWH who are telling these contractors, you don't have to consult, you don't have to talk to local governments. Imagine that. And these are existing laws already. Diba? So what is disappointing is that despite all these things that we are seeing, there is no concrete approach on how to change and address things. We're only looking at individuals going after them, sacrificial, supposedly political, but at the same time, hindi natin ina-analyze why these things are happening. And there are no concrete solutions that are put on the table. So that's the problem. We cannot blame the public for complaining and then telling the public na kayo yung nagko-cause for the economy to tank.
Yeah.
The reason why the economy is bad is because of bad governance.
On that note, I want to thank you for joining me again. I do hope you come back to Head Start. UP School of Economics Professor Dr. Cielo Magno. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Karen. And